gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present the Disney Songbook and the beloved songs and music of Disney legends Richard M. Sherman and Alen Menkin. Now, please welcome your host for this evening, noted Disney historian and popular Disney event personality, Tim O'Day.
For that very warm applause. Thank goodness my PayPal account still works. Have you had a great day here at the D23 Expo? Well, I guarantee you're in for a very, very memorable night. Who's been looking forward to this for months? Imagine, think about this. It might sound cliche to say, but these two gentlemen, they have written the soundtrack, well, of our lives, whether you're 7 or 70. And it's truly amazing that they're sharing the stage for the first time. So, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Disney legends Richard Sherman and Alen Menkin. So guys, how's your day? All right, so I'm standing over here and I'm thinking to myself, we have a little bit of a problem. There are 2 of you and 1 of these. So what are we going to do?
Play four-handed? How about age before beauty?
Age before beauty.
Yes!
You got it.
And the beast.
Kid. Ladies and gentlemen, Alen Menkin. Well, hello, Richard.
I'm very happy to be among my family again. The Disney folks, that's all my family.
I didn't believe that. Very good.
I want to be able to see everybody. These guys over here and these guys over here. So, good to be with you, Tim.
Good to be with you.
That's great.
How many of you have joined us before? What have you done? Well, we're going to throw a few new wrinkles into this, but you know, we were talking backstage. Let's start with, you referred to her as your good luck charm.
My lucky star. Actually, there was a lovely young lady. She was 15 years old. She stepped up to a microphone and she sang a little rocker back in 1958, long before many of you were born. And it was Annette Funicello. She had the last of the graduates of the Mouseketeers show, and they decided to give her some rock and roll songs to sing because she still was very, very popular. And so they heard a little ditty my brother Bob and I wrote, and she made a recording of it, and it started the Sherman Brothers, really, with Disney. And I'll sing that in honor of my dear, dear friend, Annette Funicello. Writing on the wall, everybody knows it. I love Paul, tall Paul, tall Paul, tall Paul. He's my all. Chalk on the sidewalk, chalk on the sidewalk. Initials on a tree, initials on a tree. Everybody knows it, everybody knows it. Paul loves me. Tall Paul with the king-size arms. Tall Paul with the king-size charms. Tall Paul with the king-size kiss. He's my all.
if you're of a certain age, like, you had a crush on Annette, and I love those old Annette Funicello record albums that had themes, and they had the novelty songs on them, like, what was it, Pineapple Princess.
Pineapple Princess. Oh yes, now Pineapple Princess was from an album which we worked on called Hawaiianette. One word, clever stuff. Hawaiianette. And actually what we did was we wrote several songs and then we took some standards and made an album package. And it was a big, big seller. And I'll give you a little bit of Hawaiianette. What was it? Pineapple Princess. That's it. I saw a boy on Oahu Isle, floating down the bay on a crocodile. He waved at me and he swam ashore, and I knew he'd be mine forevermore. Pineapple Princess, he calls me Pineapple Princess all day as he plays his ukulele on the hill above the bay. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and you'll be my pineapple queen. We had a series of those songs. The next time it was a big hit, so they said, do another one. So we did an Italian-themed album, and it was called Italianette. And then we did a third one about dance music. We did Danceanette. And one day Annette said to us, what are you going to do next? Bassinet? And what was it? A kitchenette. And she was out of the house one day, kitchen, but we didn't do any more of those. That was enough of them.
When you got to kitchenette, just end it. Yeah, you're over.
Peanut butter.
So let's talk about another little teenage idol that you worked with. Her name was Hayley Mills.
Oh, Hayley Mills. Hayley Mills, an incredible actress. And the trouble with that was we had written some songs for a film called The Parent Trap. You might know. And it was there was going to be a sequence where Hayley and Hayley, the two Haleys, would sing a duet together called Let's Get Together. It was kind of a subtle, a subtle hint for the parents to get together. They were a divorced family. So basically, we had this recording session, and Hayley was very hesitant. She was very afraid about doing anything, and I realized that she was not happy, so I said, what's the matter, dear? And she said, well, I'm an actress, I'm not a singer. And I said, but you are a wonderful actress. Well, she says, thank you. I said, why don't you act like you're a singer? She said, I can do that, I can do that. And she came out with a million seller. Oh, I really think you're swell, We really ring the bell, ooh-wee. And if you stick with me, nothing could be greater. Say, hey, alligator, let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why don't you and I combine? Let's get together, what do you say? We could act spring in time. We'd be a crazy team. Why don't we make a scene? Let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you don't have to write two songs for Hayley, just one.
Oh, she sang it. You know, you saw the picture. She sang both parts.
Yeah.
She just split herself in half. I don't know how they do it. Disney has this magical trick they can do.
Well, now, speaking of novelty songs, you wrote for Annette those novelty songs, and then you would get weird, strange assignments. Like you had an assignment to write a song about color.
Oh, yes, yes, indeed. Walt was going to do something very daring. Yeah, you saw that, didn't you?
They see all of this coming, Richard.
It's my family, I told them. They all know it. But actually, Walt was going to do something very daring. Television back in 1961 was pretty much all black and white. There was no color television. But Walt was going to switch from ABC to CBS, or to NBC, that's it. Yeah. And he was going to come up with a whole series of color telecasts, color shows. And he gave us the assignment of writing a song about color. That's a weird assignment. You know, you can write about a lot of things, but just color. So we came up with the song called The Wonderful World of Color. And it became the actual theme song of the show for many, many years. And it was a whole male choir, mixed choir sang it. And it went like this. Color, color world is a carousel of color, wonderful, wonderful color. The blue rolling sea, the red summer rose, the gold morning sun in the sky, the glorious vision of a rainbow, the bright autumn leaves on the ground. There's beauty untold that's ours to behold in the wonderful world of color, color, color.
Now, does that song bring back memories of Sunday nights at 7 o'clock? Now, did you have, this is a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Back in, what was that, 61?
61.
Something like that? Could you imagine that almost 50 years later, it would be the theme song of a spectacular show at Disneyland?
Who'd have thunk it? It's amazing. No, I feel very thrilled about so many things that we've done at Disney. They became timeless because the Disney magic is on them. And like many times, people write songs for projects, shows, movies, and they're forgotten. They're used once and never again. But with Disney, it stays. It keeps going back and back and back. And that's one of the great blessings of writing for Disney. It really is.
Now, we were talking about these novelty songs and strange assignments. One time you got an assignment to tell the story of something being ugly.
Oh, yeah. There's a film we did for Disney called the Summer Magic. Summer Magic. You know Summer Magic. And it starred Hayley Mills and a wonderful folk singer named Burl Ives, a great actor and singer. And I was a great fan of Burl Ives. He was a great performer. And we came up with a little idea for him. He was going to sing a song called The Ugly Bug Ball. And it was a cute idea. We liked it. It was kind of ragtime. It gave us a chance to write a different style than we usually wrote in. And it was kind of marvelous. And Bob and I were tickled, except one day Walt said to us, you know, I don't like the word ugly. It's a negative word, and I think it sets me off. I'm not too happy. It's not the song. I just don't like the word ugly. And we were really kind of worried about it. And Bob came up, my brother, thank God, he came up and he said, Walt, a rhinoceros, a guy rhinoceros, looks at a girl rhinoceros and says, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You know, and Walt said, well, if we can get that into the script. So basically what happened is Sally Benson, who was the script writer, wrote something of that into it, so we get to do Ugly Bug Ball. And I love that song, so I'm gonna play that for you now. It's in ragtime. Once a lonely caterpillar sat and cried to a sympathetic beetle by his side. I've got nobody to hug, I'm such an ugly bug. Then a spider and a dragonfly replied, if you're serious and want to win a prize, come along with us to the glorious annual Ugly Bug Ball. Come on, let's crawl to the Ugly Bug Ball. And a happy time we'll have there, one and all. Then our caterpillar saw a pretty queen. She was beautiful in yellow, black, and green. He said, would you care to dance? That dancing led to romance. Then she sat upon his caterpillar knees, and he gave his caterpillar queen a squeeze. Soon they'll honeymoon, build a big cocoon, thanks to the Ugly Bug Ball. Come on, let's crawl, got to crawl to the Ugly Bug Ball, to the ball, and a happy time we'll have there. One and all at the annual Ugly Bug Ball.
Now, there's a special little bear that holds a great,
Oh, yes,
you have a great affection for.
I love this little guy. Actually, we were given a wonderful assignment. An English author by the name of A.A. Mills had written some incredible, delightful stories with wonderful characters, all about all the stuffed teddy bear and his friends. And he wrote this for his little boy, Christopher Robin. And we had the great honor of being asked to write the music for that original Winnie the Pooh series. And so I'll play the title song, which I just love. Deep in the 100-acre wood where Christopher Robin plays, you'll find the enchanted neighborhood of Christopher's childhood days. A donkey named Eeyore is his friend, and Kanga and Little Roo. There's a rabbit and Piglet, and there's Owl. But most of all, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Tubby little cubby, all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Cubby.
Willie.
Thank you. Willie nilly silly old man. Come on, everybody. Winnie the Pooh. Tubby little cubby, all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Willie nilly silly old bear.
Did you catch everybody singing, not only singing along, but as you were doing Winnie the heads were going around?
I think you saved me because I blacked out on that line. Willy nilly silly old bear. That's a clever line. You know?
I know a genius that came up with that.
Blame Bob, I think, that time. I didn't write that one. I wrote the other one. I wrote Tubby Little Cubby, all the stuff was fluff. That one. And he wrote Willy nilly silly old bear. We always split the copyrights, you know, that way.
Oh, the secret is out. The secret's out.
We always did collaborate on words and music. Bob and I would sit there and tough it out together. And after all the blood was let, we'd have a song.
So one of my favorite segments of one of the Pooh featurettes is when Pooh does his stoutness exercises.
Oh, stoutness exercise, right? Well, actually, you know, he exercises for different reasons than you or I. We want to lose a few pounds, tone up the muscles. Not Pooh. He has his own reasons. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. When I up, down, and touch the ground, it puts me in the mood. Up, down, and touch the ground, in the mood for food. When I up, down, and touch the ground, I think of things to chew, like honey, milk, chocolate, with a hefty, happy appetite. I'm a hefty, happy Pooh.
Now, this next character we want to talk about, you have been described as being just like this character.
Me?
Yes, you.
A stuffed tiger?
No.
I? Everybody knows that a stuffed tiger isn't a tiger.
Well, what is
tiger, what is he? Tiggers. These tigers are wonderful things. Their tops are made out of rubber. Their bottoms are made out of string. They're bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful thing about tigers is I'm the only one. Tigers are wonderful fellas. Tigers are awfully sweet. Everyone else is jealous. And that's why I repeat and repeat the wonderful thing about tigers. These tigers are marvelous chaps. They're loaded with venom and vigor. They love to leap in your laps. They're bumpy, jumpy, clumpy, bumpy, fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful thing about tigers is I'm the only one. I'm the only one.
So, you know, Tigger's bouncy, flouncy, all of that.
Bouncy, flouncy,
Bouncy, flouncy. And you're pretty bouncy, flouncy, too.
Oh.
And what birthday did you just celebrate?
I just celebrated my 85th birthday.
Tigger's doing great. Now, there was another film that you did that I know is one of your personal favorites, and that would be The Jungle Book.
Oh, I love Jungle Book.
And recently, that film has been turned into a stage show, a highly acclaimed stage show.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, Jungle Book was a great assignment because, see, Rudyard Kipling, the great English author, had written a marvelous book called Jungle Book, and it was a very serious, dark story. It had a lot of mysterious things in it and grisly things that took place in the jungle. And Walt fell in love with the storyline, but he didn't like the tone, the attitude of it. And originally there was a series of entire screenplay created for it, and Walt rejected it out of hand. He didn't like it, but he wanted to do the story. So he asked several of us to come into his office one morning, and I remember there were story men there with directors and background people and all, and then Bob and I were the songwriters on the staff, so we were there, of course. And he said, how many of you fellas have read Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book? And not a hand was raised. It was like being at school and you didn't do the assignment, you know, you couldn't raise your hand. And he said, great, I'm glad you didn't do that because I don't want you to read that book. I want to tell you the story. And he did. The greatest storyteller of the last century by far was Walt Disney himself. He told the story. He told that morning how he wanted to see Jungle Book, and he became the different characters. He became Baloo the bear, and he became the king of the apes, and he became all these wonderful characters. And all of a sudden, we were nuts about this story. We had to tell it right. And so, one of the assignments, he said, take the scariest, grimmest story and have fun with it.
Well, Richard, one of the things that we talked about backstage, actually, you were going on and on and on about how much you love the stage show, this new stage show, The Jungle Book.
It's just wonderful. They've taken the score, the original score, plus Terry Gilchrist's song, which I always take bows for, and I didn't write, and that's The Bare Necessities. It's a great song. The one song we didn't write for the picture, but all the rest of the songs were Bob's and mine. And that score, plus new additional songs that Bob and I had written for a sequel, plus a few other things, are fattened out into this big stage production. And it looks so great. They have a wonderful live cast, and I'm very excited about it. It'll be touring. I'm sure it'll be coming to these.
But we were talking, you kind of focused on the Vultures song.
Oh,
it was one of your favorite songs in the film, and they do it in the play as well.
Yeah, now there we were assigned to do a song that these vultures, vultures, they wait till something's dead, then they eat them. They eat the carrion. And it's kind of a grisly thing. So we decided, let's not do that kind of vultures. We'll have friendly vultures. We'll have vultures that want to be nice. And there's a little entendre in it. We did it as a barbershop quartet. So you've got to imagine a barbershop quartet with slightly Liverpudlian accents singing this thing. When you're alone, who comes around to pluck you up when you are down? And when you're outside looking in, who's there to open the door? That's what friends are for, and who's always eager to extend a friendly claw. That's what friends are for, and when we're lost in dire need, who's at your side at lightning speed? We're friends with every creature coming down the pike. In fact, we've never met an animal we didn't like. Didn't like, you got it, didn't you? So you can see we're friends in need, and friends in need are friends indeed. We'll keep you safe in the jungle forevermore. That's what friends are for.
You and Bob really worked with some of the show business greats, two of them being Louis Prima, the great jazz man, and Phil Harris.
That's right, two great performers.
Now tell us about the recording session for the terrific song, I Want to Be Like You.
Oh.
How'd that go?
Well, that was a wonderful thing. Actually, Bob and I had written this song, The King of the Apes. We got the idea for him to be the king of the swingers because we were discussing, what does an ape really do? When he grunts, he goes, like that a lot. And he also swings in a tree. And I remember sitting there with talking about what are we going to write for this guy. And as soon as the word swings in a tree came out, we said, he's the king of the swingers, not just the king of the apes, the king of the swingers, and his marauding monkey friends, they're his band. So we really got the thing of we cast it with Louis Prima and Sam Luther and the Witnesses, this great group of jazz men, and they were marvelous. And then Phil Harris played Baloo, and so we said we'll have a sequence where Baloo and the King of the Apes sing together. And we never could get the two of them together. So that's the story you want me to tell. So actually what happened was, we recorded just Louis Prima and Sam Lutera filled in one place where they're doing the scat singing. That's the double talk sound words. And Scooby-Doo, Ree-Ban-Naza, that kind of thing. And we just did the aping of it. And then that was just Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo. And Phil Harris, about 4 months later, when he finally got into the studio, was listening to this, I can't sing that, that's not my kind of words, I can't do that. Willie Reitherman, our director, came out and said, Phil, look, do what you want to do, but just answer, just, oh, I'll do that. And it became the most hilarious thing you've ever heard. So it's like having a conversation in double talk. And I can't do all of that, but I'll give you an idea of what the song sounded like. Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Now I want to be a man cub and stroll right into town and be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Say, ooh, I want to be like you. I want to walk like you, talk like you too. You'll see it's true, and it like me can learn to be you man too. I'll eat your mannerisms. We'll be a set of twins. No one will know where man cub is and orangutan begins. And when I eat bananas, I won't peel them with my feet, cause I'll become a man cub and get some of their kick. Say, ooh, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you and talk like you too. You see it's true, shoo-doo-doo, and ain't like me, scoo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Can learn to be human too. Can learn to be human too. One more time. Can learn to be human too. I wanna be like you.
Some of us fumble getting a sentence out, and then he does this. Another great that you worked with was the great French song stylist Maurice Chevalier.
Oh, yeah.
And the Aristocats, on the Aristocats.
Oh, right. Well, actually, wonderful. Maurice Chevalier was the #1 French performer in the world. He was world famous. And I go history with that. My father was a songwriter, and he wrote big hits for Maurice Chevalier back in the 30s. He had a big hit called Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight. That was my daddy's song. And I grew up listening to records of Maurice Chevalier. I used to love the sound of his voice and his personality. And then one day we got a chance with Walt to write some songs for his pictures, and we did In Search of the Castaways, The Monkeys Go Home. We wrote special songs for those pictures. And then came the Aristocats. By this time, this was like early 1970, 71, Maurice had retired. He was getting up there, and he wasn't going to do any more. And our director of the film, Willie Reitherman, actually, was the one that said, Dick, you do that imitation of Chevalier. Why don't you make a demo of the way he sings it, and we'll send it to him. Maybe he'll come out of retirement for this purpose. And I said, I can't do an imitation for Chevalier to hear. He says, look, listen to me, do it that way, it'll be good. So I said, okay. So I'll give you a little sample of what I did for the Aristocats song, and I'll tell you the results afterwards, okay? Which gets a dress is the finest in Paris. Which gets possessed, the finest pedigree. Which gets to the others tip their hats. Naturally, the Aristocats. That's all I'm going to do for you. We did this song, we did the whole song, a full thing with all the verses and all, and sent it off to Chevalier. Sure enough, he came out of retirement and he sang the main title and the end title of the song in English and French. He was wonderful. My wife and I happened to be in Paris about 3.5, 4 months after he recorded the song. And we were just coming out of a hotel, and there he was, Maurice and some people. And I said, Maurice, Richard Sherman remembers? Oh, yes, I remember you, of course. I said, well, my brother Bob and I are so thrilled that you did this recording, and it sounds so great and everything. Everybody in the studio is excited about it. And he said, well, thank you. He says, I love Walt Disney, and I did this for Walt Disney, and it's a very nice song. I said, well, thank you so much. And he said, I said, but there's one thing that bothers me. I did this terrible, thick, phony French accent on the album, on the record, and I apologize for that. He looked me right in the eye and said, accent? I heard no accent.
I like that little ba-dum bump you just did there. Well, now, how many of you grew up on the film Bedknobs and Broomsticks? There's a song in that score that's very special to you. And tell us, and it was nominated for an Oscar. Tell us about that.
We were at the studio, and Walt had passed on, and we had come back into the studio after being away for a while, and we were asked to do some more songs for Bedknobs. They were about to shoot the film, and they needed a couple of sequences. And there was one place where a song was needed for the heroine, Eglantine Price, to sing about a little doubting Thomas, a little boy who didn't believe in magic, he didn't believe in anything, he was very disenchanted with life. And we were trying to think of, what are we going to write about? And we were saying, Walt isn't here anymore, and we used to always bounce our songs off of Walt first. We played them for him, and then he'd say, yeah, that'll work. That was our big praise. Yep, that'll work. And then we'd have it in film. But in this case, we didn't have any Walt Disney to tell us. And so I remember one of us said, well, we got to start depending on ourselves, because we got to believe in ourselves. It's as simple as that. And I said, this little boy was going through the age of not believing. Oh, yeah, but once you start believing in yourself, then you can do things. So we wrote this little song, and I'm very fond of it. When you rush around in hopeless circles, searching everywhere for something true, you're at the age of not believing, when all the make-believe is through. When you set aside your childhood heroes and your dreams are lost upon a shelf, you're at the age of not believing. Worst of all, you doubt yourself. You're a castaway where no one hears you, on a barren isle in a lonely sea. Where did all the happy endings go? Where can all the good times be? You must face the age of not believing, doubting everything you ever knew, until at last you start believing there's something wonderful, truly wonderful in you.
Now let's talk about the Disney parks a little bit.
The Disney parks, I've heard of those. I think we're in one of them right now.
And I want you to tell them the story. You've told me this before. There was a night that you and Elizabeth, your wife Elizabeth, happened to be at Disneyland.
Oh,
tell us that story.
It's a very touching story. Bob and I had been on the staff for about 3 years, and we had a pass. We could get into Disneyland anytime we wanted. And my wife Elizabeth and I were at the park one night, very late, and we had this most wonderful day. We had done all the rides, and it was just great. And at the end of the day, we just lingered on Main Street, just before going out the old exit, when you used to go out in the parking lot was back there. And we saw some singular figure, practically empty park, and one figure was just walking down the road, looking into the windows of the stores. And I said, well, that's Walt, honey. Let's tell him how much fun we had tonight. So we waited for him to come, and he said, oh, Dick, let's go. And we were talking for a minute, and I said, Walt, we just want you to know we had the most wonderful day. It was just incredible. And at the end, when Tinkerbell was flying across the sky, and the music was playing, and the skyrockets were going on, I just started to cry like a baby. Just happy tears, but they were just coming out of my eyes. And he said, you know, I do it every time. And this was Walt. He said, God careful when you go home. He went up on top of the fire engine station there. And I dearly remember that because he just loved the park. He loved the things in it. He loved what it symbolized. He loved what it meant. You know, there are happy endings. There's a good world out there. Nice, positive things. He was a very positive man.
This year it happens to be the 50th anniversary of the very first song you wrote.
Walt had a hobby. We thought it was a hobby. He had a thing he was very proud of, and he used to bring VIPs down to one of the sound stages. And in the corner of this sound stage was like a jungle room. And they would come in and they would see this thing that was going on. It was called audio animatronics. You know about them now, but not 50 years ago. And people would see orchids singing and birds, you know, standing on perches singing, and tiki torches going hugga bugga, hugga bugga. And all of a sudden it would rain, and they would see this show that they were creating for the Enchanted Tiki Room, and they would say, it's great, Walt, what the heck is it? You know, that's all they could say. And so we were called down one day to this room, and we were sitting on bridge chairs, I remember that, and the show started, and down came this cascade of birds singing, let's all sing like the birdies sing, and we're listening to this thing, and at the end, when the rain stopped and everybody was happy again, we said, Walt, it's great, what is it? And he looked right at us and said, you guys are going to write me a song that's going to explain all this. And so we said, yeah, okay, well, Walt, you have to believe it. We're going to write lyrics, you have to believe. It's too bad you don't have a parrot. He thought for about a half a second. He said, we won't have one parrot, we'll have 4 parrots. We'll have a Dutch parrot, we'll have a German parrot, we'll have a Spanish parrot. He was going through a whole conception. And he said, what kind of a song are you going to write? So we looked around, and it was kind of a tropical room. So, well, a tropical song of calypso. So he said, yes, calypso. And what's it going to be called? Well, Enchanted Tiki Room was a bit of a nothing title. It's a good title for the place, but it's a song title, no. But tiki is a great word. And if you're a songwriter and you hear words like tiki, it's kind of good. So I remember thinking, tiki, 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 tiki. That's a great sound, tiki, tiki, tiki. How about we call it the Tiki, Tiki, Tiki Room? He says, that's it. When am I going to have the song? I need it. With that, we wrote the following song, which we've been playing now for 50 years. And we just
they know this song. I'm sure they'll sing along.
I wish you would. Welcome to our tropical hideaway, you lucky people, you. If we weren't in the show starting right away, we'd be in the audience too. Everybody in the tiki, 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 tiki room, in the tiki, 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 tiki room. All the birds sing word and the flowers croon. That's the explanation. In the tiki, tiki room.
Now this next song you did many years later, but you always refer to it as the Song of the Imagineers, and it's from an attraction called Journey into Imagination.
Audio animatronics had come of age. They really were doing incredible things, and Tony Baxter had created this wonderful ride. One of our latest legends. He just today got made a legend, and he's going to have a window on Main Street. And I'm proud to say he's a dear friend. And anyhow, he was creating this journey into imagination. And he had a fellow called the Dream Finder and a little friend of his called Figment. Now, Figment is a figment of imagination. And we were asked to write a song that would sort of explain what this ride was going to be, this wonderful journey into imagination. And it now is like the Imagineer's song, because we all have imaginations. And that's what it's all about. It takes one little spark of imagination to make wonderful things happen. And it starts like this. One little spark of inspiration is at the heart of all creation, right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark lights up for you. Imagination, imagination. A dream can be a dream come true with just that spark from me and you.
There's another song from that attraction that I know is a favorite of Marty Sklar's, wherever he might be.
Yeah, Marty.
And I think, why don't you just play this, because I think everybody will recognize this as well.
Just an ordinary day, all at once you're on your way to a place that cannot be. No one knows what turns the key. You have found 1,000 eyes, whirling images arise. For a moment they are clear, in a flash they disappear. Magic journeys, mystic flights, on the wings of unexpected sounds and sights. Magic journeys, are they real? Do they mirror what we think or sense or feel? Neither dreaming nor pretending, no beginning and no end.
We were talking about the Tiki Room having a 50th anniversary, and there's another big anniversary next year.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So Richard, I mean, good grief, 50 years ago. I mean,
I looked like Jason Schwartzman then.
well, now let's talk about that. Now you have an involvement in Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh yes, it's a very exciting movie. It's coming up.
And it must have been an odd experience to see your life being portrayed up on the screen by Jason Schwartzman, who plays Bob, I believe.
No,
Jason plays you, and B.J. Novak plays Bob.
Right.
How did that feel?
Well, it was eerie. It was kind of marvelous too, because they're reenacting a very key moment in our lives when this rather difficult lady who had created Mary Poppins, she was a brilliant writer, Mrs. Pamela Travers, came to the studio, and it's quite a tug of war between Walt Disney, who wanted to make the movie, and Mrs. Travers, who didn't want anybody touching her work. And it was something. Bob and I were caught in the middle of this thing, really. And Don DeGrati, the writer, the three of us had concocted a story, a way of telling her wonderful character, giving her character a purpose, because her stories never really explained anything. Just like Mary Poppins says, I never explained anything. And Mrs. Travers never explained why the stories were there. Well, we sort of pieced together 6 stories, and we made that into one story. And we had to use Mr. Banks as the foil to have the reason why Mary Poppins comes. Mr. Banks is too busy at the bank. And I'm giving away too much of the story, but you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see the movie.
So one of the keynote songs for Mary Poppins is a song called A Spoonful of Sugar.
Right.
Right. And in the film, she sings it with a little bird.
Right.
And she sings it again with herself in the mirror.
Right.
And I think on this song, you might need a little help. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jason Schwartzman and PJ Novak. Gentlemen, over here, please.
You guys are really sly. You know, I saw them this morning. They were in a presentation, and they did a great job, by the way. Guys, really. But the thing is that when they did the presentation, I saw them afterwards, and I said, well, are you going to be here tonight? Because Alan and I are doing this concert. And they said, no, unfortunately, we're tied up. And I thought, oh, I felt so bad because we never rehearsed it. This is completely, oh my goodness. So what are we going to do? Spoonful?
Yeah, I think we should do a little bit spoonful of sugar.
Spoonful of Sugar, you know that one.
I know it. You know it?
Oh,
If anyone else knows it, feel free to chime in with us on the chorus.
we need help, huh? In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap the job's again. And every task you undertake becomes a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see that a spoonful of sugar
Helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful
I
way.
like this so much I want to do another verse. You guys help again. And I love the accompaniment of the audience. That's great. A robin feathering his nest has very little time to rest while gathering his bits of twine and twig. Though quite intent in his pursuit, he has a merry tune to toot. He knows a song will move the job along for
A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way.
Ladies and gentlemen, PJ Novak and Jason Schwartzman.
Wait till you see these fellas in the show, in the movie. It's wonderful. They do a great job.
So that was a surprise.
I used to be young like that.
Yes, you did.
Once?
You didn't know about that, did you?
No, I don't have any idea.
He didn't know about that. Honest. We're just trying to keep the show fresh.
I know, but my goodness, that was wonderful. A nice surprise. That was wonderful.
Well, let's jump into your Oscar-winning song, Chim Chim Choo.
Every time I have the origin, I must say, real briefly, I mentioned the name Don DeGradi. Don DeGradi was an artist writer. And one day, Bob and I walked into his office. We were working on problems. And there was a picture in the corner of one of his storyboards. And it was just a picture of a chimney sweep walking down Cherry Tree Lane, whistling and holding his brushes over his shoulder. And we said, what is that? He said, well, in one of the chapters, there's a thing where Mary Poppins and the children are there, and she shakes hands with the sweep, and the children say, you got yourself dirty. She says, oh no, it's luck when you shake with a sweep. And we said, wow, and as an idea for a song, wow, can you get better ideas? Never. This was a great idea. We said, we got to write a song about that. And out came this little chimney sweep song. It became very near and dear to us because it won the Academy Award. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheree. A sweep is as lucky can be. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheroo. Good luck will rub off when I shake hands with you. Or blow me a kiss, and that's lucky too. Now as the ladder of life has been strung, you may think a sweep's on the bottommost rung, though I spends me time in the ashes and smoke. In this whole wide world, there's no happier blue. Up where the smoke is all billored and curled, between pavement and stars, that's the chimney sweep's world. When there's hardly no day and hardly no night, there's things half in shadows and halfway in light. On the rooftops of London, cool, what a sight. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chimney. When you're with a sweep, you're in glad company. Nowhere is there a more happier crew than them what sings chim chim, chiree, chim chiree. Chim chimney, chim chim, chiree, chim chiree.
Richard, now let's talk about a song that I know is very near and dear to you, Feed the Birds.
Oh, Feed the Birds. There are many reasons why this is very near and dear to me, but I think the most important reason is because of the fact that it's no secret. I mean, we love Walt Disney very much, and we were very fond of him as a human being, aside from being a great boss. And when we first played our ideas for Mary Poppins for Walt Disney, we played this song among a couple of other things that we had written that we thought would work nicely for the picture. And we did a lot of talking that day. And I remember at the end of this meeting, a long meeting, he said, play me that Bird Lady song again. So I played it again. And he said, that's the key to the whole story, isn't it? He said, that's right, Walt, that's it. And that's the day he put us under contract. So it means a lot to me. He did. That was the day that he put us under contract to him. And 10 greatest years of my life, working for Walt Disney. And of course, we've been connected ever since. But this is his song. And I used to go to his office every once in a while. Bob and I on a Friday would get a call. We come down there and we talk about what we were working on, of course. He knew what we were working on, but he still talked to us about it. And then he'd look out the north window and he'd say, of his office, and he'd say, play it. And I played it for him. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little old bird woman comes. In her own special way, to the people she calls, come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare. All it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries. While overhead her birds fill the skies. Around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. My goodness. How do you follow that?
Well, we could tell them what happened to us when we did that at Disneyland.
Oh, yeah, well, let's tell them about that. Walt's 100th birthday, this is about 12 years ago. You had produced a show, and we had a lot of the Imagineers came out and did speeches and talked about the projects and things that they had created. In the honor of Walt, we were dedicating the wonderful statue by Blaine Gibson of Walt and Mickey. Is that up there?
It's coming up there.
Oh, it's a picture where it's the beautiful partner statue. And we were dedicating it, and I remember I was asked to do songs we had written for the park, some of the songs we had written for the park. So I played several things. And at one point, and there were 2,000 people in the street that day, in Main Street. And I was up on a riser with a white piano. And at one point, I turned around, and there was Walt and Mickey right behind me. And I said, folks, this next song is not for you. It's really, I'm doing it for Walt. This is his song, and I used to like to play this for him. And I proceeded to play Feed the Birds. And I got to the very end of it, where just tuppence with a little run on the piano. And one bird out of a cloud in the sky comes swooping right down over where I was playing the piano. Right, and then off again. And there was an intake of breath. 2,000 people went, and then there was thunderous applause and everything. And I said, what was the gimmick? What happened? I didn't know there was a bird that came through. And I came backstage afterwards and I said to Tim, what happened? And you told me.
I said Walt visited us.
Walt visited us, and I thought that was a great moment. He said thank you. It was a magic moment. I had difficulty in believing that it happened until I saw the videotape. And there it was, one bird flew down out of the sky. And one time you told the story, you said the bird sat on the piano and winked at me. And I said, that's going a little far. But he did fly over, he really did. And I always feel Walt is with me, and he's with all of us, that's good. It's good.
Well, speaking of Walt, let's close it out by playing one of Walt's favorite songs. And it's a song that you wrote for Walt for an attraction that shows off Walt's great optimism.
Oh,
so
right.
let's close with that.
He was the futurist of all time, and we did a song for an attraction called the Carousel of Progress. And we did a film with Annette, and it goes something like this. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a dream away. Man has a dream, and that's the start. He follows his dream with one big heart, and